and focus on the National Assembly. The National Assembly's Joint Committee that investigated the importation of contaminated sugar is expected to retable the amended report this afternoon for possible debate after scheduling by the House Business Committee. This is a story that Patrick Amimo has been covering for us. Amimo now joins us live from Parliament. Good afternoon, Amimo. This report is set for retabling. There has been a lot of back and forth. There are those who are saying this is a sugar-coated report. At some point, fingers are pointed at some cabinet secretaries, but I understand you have Dan Manzo with you to have a conversation over this with.
Thank you, Linda. It is a matter that has taken Parliament for over now 36th. This is the 36th day since the matter was seized by Parliament. The committee started investigating the matter on June 22nd after Samburu West Member of Parliament Josephine Lesuda raised the matter, wanting to know whether that sugar that is being consumed by Kenyans is safe for human consumption. This matter came after the CS for Interior, Fred Matiang'i, said that some samples of the seized sugar were tested by at the government chemist and had traces of mercury, a very dangerous heavy metal which has serious health repercussions for consumers. There was also talk of copper and lead into that sugar sample. This is a matter that the Kenya Bureau of Standards did investigate and also came up with the findings that there was copper and lead in that particular sugar. So the members, it was a feeling of the committee that the 1.3 million bags of sugar seized should be destroyed. But now we saw the shenanigans involving around collecting information and also the final writing of the final report. Joining me is a member of the committee, Mheshimiwa Dan Manzo. Just looking at it, the report had some curious findings, especially on cabinet secretaries, where they said the investigating agencies should investigate circumstances under which probably the Gazette notice was written, and also probably how the sugar came to be imported into the country.
Yes, that matter came to the attention of the Speaker, and today it has been listed as for business tomorrow that some amendments will be moved in the sitting tomorrow afternoon, and once those amendments are moved, then the House will make a decision whether to amend the report since there were two versions at some point, which you highlighted very well. And the most important thing is the safety of Kenyans, and that's a concern of Parliament. I can assure members of the public that whatever was seized by police is in their custody and will definitely be destroyed. And any other person who has broken the law, I can assure you that the necessary legal mechanisms will be applied and such people will be brought to the book. So the work of Parliament is to make recommendations. We don't do the work for the DPP, nor do we do the work for the director of CID. So we did our level best in this, and the main idea was to make sure that Kenyans are safe. So whoever stores food in unhygienic conditions or gets contaminated or becomes poisonous to the citizenry, then there's sufficient laws to make sure that person is charged and presented in court and serves a sentence.
Especially with regard to these, the recommendation on the three cabinet secretaries, two are serving, that is National Treasury CS Henry Rotich, his former counterpart in trade, that is Aden Mohammed, who is now in East Africa Community, and the former CS Agriculture, Willie Bett, who is now ambassador in India. The report that was brought controversy, the wordings were that investigating agencies look into circumstances under which, yet the amended version now that reads that should take responsibility. What is the difference between these two issues here?
The current version appearing on the order paper today is the original version. The one for further investigation is a different is a version I'm not familiar with. It's the original version, although the case for the Minister of Trade is distinguishable in that he never personally signed anything, and he has a body corporate which is under him, which is KEBS. But you see that is subject to be debated by Parliament. You see, I don't want to anticipate debate. The regulations and the standing orders provide that now such a matter should go to the floor of the House, and it's now already the property of the House, and the House will make a decision. It will vote tomorrow and make a decision after debate, and it will come into a conclusion of what's the best to be done to the cabinet secretaries.
In fact, looking at that Gazette window, that Gazette notice that was issued between May and August up to December by the CS National Treasury, it allowed every Tom, Harry and Dick to import sugar, which quantities were never specified, and even the quality. And we saw all kind of sugar come into the country. Some of these that cost the Kenyan taxpayer over 36 billion shillings that was not paid. As a committee, I've seen you also trying to recommend that KRA should move in and ensure this money is recovered. How will we see these? How will this recommendation be enforced, and how will it benefit Mwananchi if it's enforced?
You see, once Parliament passes it, I can assure you we have a committee, which makes sure that what Parliament passes is enforced. And of course, Parliament will recommend further investigations, and will recommend the relevant bodies like DCI and the DPP to take action, because we don't do their work. And that will depend on how the House will vote tomorrow, and after debate and the reasons presented. Obviously, there may have been negligence on the part of the minister before he signed. Maybe he may have been misbriefed, he may have been misguided by the directorates under. Because you see, a minister is advised by the people who work under him. And I'm sure all those issues will be presented in Parliament tomorrow.
Yes, looking at it also, there's this idea that some of the those blacklisted companies that were following the 11th Parliament report by the Committee on Agriculture, it did ban some companies, at least 14 companies, and we saw that some of these companies also took advantage of this particular Gazette notice and imported sugar, which shows also maybe a weak enforcement maybe from the investigating agencies, and or maybe not taking parliamentary reports seriously, maybe by the KRA or some of these institutions that were like Agriculture Food Authority. What happened? And these companies that did import sugar during this particular period, yet they had been blacklisted, what happens to them?
I can assure you the companies and their directors who have broken the law will definitely face a law, and will recommend a search. There are many companies who have broken the law. Some claim to be above the law, some claim to be untouchable. I can assure you that if the DPP was to do his work right, none of these people will be spared. And the DCI, none of this, they'll definitely be presented before a court, evidence will be adduced, and they will defend themselves, and a decision will be made. So I do agree that if a company, this particular window opening does not mean you negate a position taken by Parliament, or does not mean you break law. Everyone is deemed to know the law, or to know what Parliament has passed, and you see, failure to know the law is not an excuse for anybody. So I believe all those matters will be canvassed, and Parliament will arrive at a fair decision for the benefit of Kenyans.
And maybe for the sugar, as the last question, this particular sugar that was seized, do you think it's still in safe custody as the committee had recommended, or maybe it could have sneaked out and maybe Kenyans are consuming it?
You see, that is the responsibility of the DCI and the Mount Agency, and the information we have so far is that 1.3 billion bags who are in their custody will definitely be destroyed. They are just awaiting for what Parliament will recommend. Of course, for the industrial sugar, which is used now to make beverages and for manufacturing, it is good for Kenyans to know that that particular sugar has to be reprocessed, and therefore it is safe for use. So whatever has been contaminated so far, I have seen serious efforts by the government, including even my own constituency, Makueni. Sugar has been captured and tested, and they are still moving around the country looking for any contraband sugar or any sugar which may not be safe for human consumption. And I believe the Mount Agency is doing its level best, the DCI is doing their best, and we are looking forward for good recommendation to the DPP and prosecutions.
Thank you so much. That is a member for Makueni, Dan Manzo, just trying to, and a member of the committee that did investigate this particular contaminated sugar, which also was found to be some of the samples came out tested to be poisonous, having mercury, elements of copper and lead, and also aflatoxin, which is very also dangerous to human health. They will be watching Parliament to see how they will go about debating that particular report once it's tabled in the House for debate. Last week it was supposed to, it appeared on the order paper, but then the Speaker said it did not follow procedure because apparently members of the House Business Committee that are in charge of scheduling motions and debates in the House were not involved into this particular matter. That's why we saw it spill over to this particular week. But then we think things have been will be done in a proper manner and ensure that members debate this particular report and see either adopt it and or reject it. That will be depending on members of Parliament. Back to you, Linda.
Kamimo, let's wait and see how that goes. As you did mention, members of the committee last week raised alarm of attempts to doctor that particular report, and I remember